I only encountered this piece about 2 years ago, and I find it absolutely beguiling. It is fascinating how this rondo, the rondeau, with its couplets, that means it goes A with a repeat, B, A, C, A, D, and in this case D is much longer before a final return to the rondeau theme. And so there's an impression of this deep register in B flat major that is very sort of comforting, I find. It's very warm, especially on the piano perhaps. And yet, if it's done with great intensity and involvement and looking below the surface for a great deal of tension and release possibilities, I don't find that it gets boring personally. But the first time I sight read this piece, I found it perplexing. It was perplexing technically. It didn't feel natural to me immediately. And yet I think it can be natural. It just wasn't something that I was used to encountering. And partly it was because of all this finger pedaling and all of the substitutions that have to happen as well. Perhaps it's easiest to begin with the tenor and bass lines, the voices in the left hand. And we can see how finger substitutions assist a continuous legato line. Right here, as long as your hand is big enough to reach it, play the tenor voice from 1 to 2, switch immediately to 1. In the bass voice, go to 4, switch immediately to 5. Then play 2, switch to 1 in the tenor. It's possible you may want to switch all the way to 3 in the bass voice before dropping down to 5. And then here, legato to 4 if your hand is big enough. If it's not, you just have to pick it up. But switch to 5, 2 to 1, and here's a double switchback in the tenor. So notice that from the D, if we come down to C, keep the hand aligned and small, we're on 1, then we go to 4 here, switch back to 5, and now back to 2 here before going back to 1. So look at that one more time. What really happens in the tenor voice is from this D, we play 2, go to 1, and then after the left hand, the bass note shifts, we go back to 2, and that way we can play legato up to here. So it may also be helpful to isolate just the tenor line and go in measure 2, go 2 here to 1, 2 to 1, repeat with 1 because it's a repeated note, 2 to 1, going back to 2, and back to 1. That is probably worth doing if substitution is especially new to you. But now we're working with substitutions in different voices within the same hand. So one more time, if we look at what happens at the end of measure 2, here's 2 going to 1, 5 going to 4, back to 5, 2 going to 1, switching perhaps to 3 here, to go to 5, 1, up to 4, switching to 5, 2 switching to 1, 4 switching to 5, 1 switching to 2, and back to 1 and 3. Now you might ask, why do we have to do all those substitutions? Well, we could do it without and perhaps try to use the foot pedal, but clearly Couperin seems to be writing notation that is particularly bound, as in legato throughout in the right hand. And it seems to fit with the character of this. The working in this voice alone, the other question is, why did I switch away from 4 and 5? Well, let's take a look at that. What happens to your hand? Once I played this and I played the 4th finger, if I tried to stay on the 4th finger, look at the stretch that happens now in measure 3. So sometimes I'm switching over to 5 to give my hand the chance to be very small. Now I can play this 2 without any trouble and then switch again. Now I'll switch off of the 5th finger so that I can play legato to the next 5 down here. So note that one more time in case that was confusing. Here is this. If I played a 4 now on the downbeat of measure 3, if I try to keep this here and I play this 2, I can do it, but it's not comfortable. And once you get used to playing this kind of thing where you play 4, switch to 5, 2, switch to 1, you get used to the substitutions and they start to become automatic. And that way you're able to keep yourself in good alignment and with much less risk of injury that comes about when we twist our hands in this way.